you please enlarge on the subject of God contact? On a 1962 tape, you say it is so sacred and secret that you must not tell it to another. Do not speak about it except to your own teacher. Is it the same experience as that which happens during a successful meditation? It well can be. A successful meditation is a contact with God. And if it is a successful meditation and it results in a contact with God, and then there is spiritual fruitage from it, do you see how impossible it would be to tell it to another? Because how could they believe it? How could they understand it? If it has never happened to them, what makes you even think that they would believe it? In other words, well, Scripture says, if you raise them from the dead, they will not believe it. And probably many of you have witnessed that, of very fine spiritual healings that take place, and then some doctor says, oh, well, they would have gotten better anyhow, or, oh, well, that's one of the unusual things that sometimes happen that we don't understand. But never or rarely is credit given to the fact that it is a spiritual healing. And so it is. How can a person who has never had a spiritual experience believe that there is such a thing? It is very much like in my earlier years, I had the gift of seeing many events before they took place. Still do, in fact. But in those early years, I thought everybody wanted to know what was coming so that they might prepare for it or against it if it were to be evil. And I soon learned this isn't true. Nobody wants to hear anything except what they already believe. And so if you could tell them that there is going to be a flood in their house next week, they are not going to believe it until the day after it happens. Because they don't want to believe it, they don't want it to happen, and they're going to put it out of their mind. And so I learned as the years went on never to divulge these things, because the first thing in the thought of a person is, well, how do you know? In other words, I don't know, so how do you know? So it is that one who has never had a spiritual experience cannot possibly understand the nature of a spiritual experience. And more especially in the Occidental world, there are very few people who can believe in what happens in and through meditation, because meditation is an unknown factor in the Western world. And there are very few that know anything about meditation, and until the Infinite Way, there were still less who knew about it. Now, to tell anyone that you can go into meditation and feel the presence of God, or feel a deep breath, and then all of a sudden find the body healed, or the mind, or the pocketbook, now this, you know, is ridiculous. I can still remember the day when my own father was sick, right here in England. And the doctors notified us that he was dying, and the Christian Scientist asked if we had ever tried prayer healing. Well, I wanted to be polite, but I did have to hide a smile. Do you mean Christian Science? Yes. No, we never thought about that. Mind over matter? No, I don't think that would work. But he persuaded me, and my father was healed by that very man. And it was an instantaneous healing. It's very difficult to tell these things to a person who has no experience with them. And I suppose this is good, because if everybody believed everything they heard, they'd be kind of gullible. And so we don't like to believe what we don't understand. And so it is that if you have spiritual experiences, it would be wisdom not to talk them over with anyone unless you have someone about you on the same path at your level of demonstration who could accept it and believe it and with whom you could share. But those instances are rare.